Zhongli. The first recorded human Green Lantern was Zhongli, a monk from 7th century China who was revealed centuries later through a retcon. First appearance: Green Lantern Dragon Lord number 1. Not an official modern Corps inductee, rather he was established retroactively as the earliest human to wield the Emerald Ring. This pushed back Earth's lantern history to a much earlier point, showing that the Guardians had visited humanity long before the stories of Alan Scott or Hal Jordan. Zhongli's selection was rooted in survival rather than a single heroic act. After his monastery was consumed by fire, leaving him as its lone survivor, a Guardian witnessed his grief tempered by sheer will and offered him the ring. Unlike later lanterns fueled by optimism or service, his journey began with endurance and the drive to rebuild. What set Zhongli apart was the way he merged martial training with lantern power. His combat style relied on measured stances, disciplined breathing, and energy-formed weapons that mirrored traditional arms. This made his constructs feel like extensions of his spirit and gave him the title Dragon Lord. His approach reflected balance and spiritual strength, setting his philosophy apart from the more militaristic core that would emerge in later centuries. Zhongli's existence demonstrated that willpower transcends cultures and eras. Anya Savenlovich. Anya Savenlovich stands out as one of the most unusual human lanterns, not for what she did with the ring, but for how she earned it in the first place. Her first appearance was in Green Lantern, Volume 3, number 129. A lieutenant colonel in the Soviet Air Force and a cosmonaut, she was chosen decades later during Kyle Rayner's attempt to rebuild the Green Lantern Corps in the wake of Emerald Twilight. Her story began with Project Helios, a secret Cold War program meant to secure Soviet dominance in space. In 1964, a catastrophic rocket explosion left her stranded, drifting in orbit. The accident placed her in suspended animation for about 35 years, her body preserved while she floated alone in the void. Where almost anyone else would have broken, Anya endured in silence, proving an inner fortitude that few could match. It was that resilience, not heroics or battle, that marked her as ring-worthy when Kyle found her and invited her into his short-lived new corps. Awakening to a modern era where her nation no longer existed and technology had leapt far ahead, Anya faced staggering culture shock. Even so, she adapted quickly, proving the ring's choice valid. Later, when Kyle recalled the new corps rings, she refused to simply retire. Instead, she remained in space, continuing to fight alongside another team, showing that her commitment went beyond the weapon she had briefly wielded. Not every lantern is remembered at length, and yet those fleeting stories, like hers, highlight how unpredictable the ring's choices can be, sometimes binding itself to willpower born of survival rather than ambition. Lord Malvolio. Not every ring-bearer was chosen in a moment of heroism. Lord Malvolio, born in England in 1612, claimed his Green Lantern ring in the darkest way possible. His first appearance was in Action Comics Weekly number 632. His father, a human-alien hybrid entrusted with a ring, became his victim when Malvolio murdered him to seize its power. Unlike others inducted into the Corps, Malvolio was never trained or guided by the Guardians. His life began with patricide, and the ring only amplified that violent ambition. For the next 4 centuries, Malvolio wielded his stolen weapon without oversight. He used it not to defend or protect, but to impose his will, raising himself as a tyrant. Without the Guardian's boundaries, his constructs reflected a warped philosophy of conquest. Where lanterns like Hal Jordan fought to preserve order, Malvolio rejected the very idea of service. To him, the ring was proof of superiority, a tool to dominate rather than to defend. This made him a dangerous reflection of what a human lantern could become without discipline. When Hal finally confronted Malvolio, their clash underscored the difference between selfish ambition and true willpower. Hal destroyed him and claimed his ring, ending a centuries-long reign of unchecked abuse. Malvolio's fall remains one of the clearest warnings about raw power in the wrong hands. Charles Vicker. Charles Vicker's story shows how quickly the idea of being a hero can collapse when fantasy collides with reality. His first appearance was in Green Lantern number 55. Known to audiences as the actor who played Green Lantern on television, Vicker was famous for pretending to wield the power of the Corps. But when tragedy struck, the line between performance and reality disappeared. During a live broadcast, alien criminals mistook his brother Roger for the real Green Lantern and killed him on air. The loss was devastating, and when Hal Jordan arrived too late to intervene, Charles demanded the chance to fight back. Hal reluctantly deputized him, handing over the ring of a fallen lantern. In that instant, the stage actor became a real lantern, but his strength was rooted in rage more than discipline. Vicker fought effectively and eventually earned a post within the Corps, but his constructs reflected grief and anger instead of calm resolve. His use of the ring blurred the line between justice and vengeance, and his downfall was inevitable. His death was later recorded in Green Lantern number 75, 1996, after a period where he served as a Dark Star once his Lantern days had ended. While his arc was brief, it remains an unflinching reminder that true heroism requires more than a ring. Tai Pham. Tai Pham represents an entirely new kind of Green Lantern story, one that begins not in space, but at home. His first appearance was in Green Lantern Legacy in January 2020. At only 13 years old, Tai inherits a jade ring from his grandmother, who secretly served as a lantern herself. Inspired in part by author Min Lay's own grandmother, Tai's debut grounds the Green Lantern legacy in family ties, immigrant history, and cultural memory rather than distant cosmic trials. Unlike most lanterns chosen directly by the Guardians, Tai receives his ring as an heirloom, a deliberate passing of the torch. This unique beginning reshapes the mythology, showing that the Emerald Light can also move through generations as an act of trust and legacy. His ring, distinct for its jade design, carries the weight of memory, community, and resilience, setting his story apart from the Corps' usual militarized structure. Tai's challenges are not alien invasions but struggles within his neighborhood. He faces gentrification, xenophobia, and racist bullies, learning that being a lantern can mean defending ordinary lives against systemic harm. Lacking formal training, he masters the ring through trial and error, proving that growth, compassion, and determination can fuel heroism as much as discipline. Though his story is not yet part of DC's mainline continuity, Tai Pham has already resonated with readers as the youngest human lantern, a reminder that new voices can redefine what the mantle means. Keli Quintela. Keli Quintela, better known as Teen Lantern, is one of the most unconventional bearers of Emerald power. Her first appearance was in Young Justice number 1 in 2019. At just 11 years old and hailing from La Paz, Bolivia, she didn't wait for a ring to choose her. Instead, using her advanced technical skills, she hacked into a Green Lantern power battery and reverse-engineered a gauntlet capable of channeling its energy. This made her one of the few lanterns to bypass the Guardians entirely and assert her own place in the mythos without official Corps induction. The gauntlet is what sets her apart. Where a traditional ring responds to pure willpower, Keli treats her constructs like coded programs she designs and executes. Weapons, shields, and even computer-like interfaces emerge as though they were written line by line, a digital style distinct from the instinctive artistry seen in veterans like Hal Jordan or John Stewart. Her approach reflects innovation, but also her youth and ingenuity. Still, her path isn't without drawbacks. The gauntlet requires constant upkeep, its power output is unstable, and the Corps has never fully accepted her legitimacy. As a member of Young Justice, she represents a spirited defiance of tradition, raising new questions about what qualifies someone to carry the green light. Jo Mullein. Jo Mullein brought a very different perspective to the Lantern legacy. Her first appearance was in Far Sector number 1 in 2019, created by N.K. Jemisin and Jamal Campbell. She was assigned to the City Enduring, a distant metropolis of 20 billion citizens who suppress emotion through technology. This peace lasted for centuries until the first murder in generations shattered the illusion of stability, pulling Jo into an ethical investigation about what it means to govern without feeling. Her ring was unlike any other, a prototype given specifically to her. It does not connect to Oa's central power battery and never needs recharging in the traditional sense. Instead, it carries a finite internal reserve. This limitation forces Jo to conserve her light, rely on strategy, and solve problems with intellect rather than brute force. The restriction reframes the concept of Green Lantern power, shifting the focus from unlimited energy to careful choices under pressure. Jo's background sharpened how she approached that work. A former NYPD officer and openly bisexual black woman, she carried lived experience into a society built on emotional silence. More than most lanterns, she leaned on procedure, empathy, and negotiation. Her constructs often resembled investigative tools rather than weapons, highlighting her skill as a detective as much as a warrior. Her story showed how resilience can grow in spaces defined by mistrust and doubt. Simon Baz. Simon Baz's entry into the Corps was unlike any that came before him. His first appearance was in Green Lantern number 0 in 2012, created by Jeff Johns and Doug Mahnke. A Lebanese-American from Dearborn, Michigan, Simon grew up in the shadow of post-9/11 prejudice, where racial profiling and suspicion shaped his daily life. That reality turned tragic when he stole a van without knowing it contained a hidden bomb. Arrested under terrorism charges, he sat in FBI custody when a fused, malfunctioning ring, once belonging to both Hal Jordan and Sinestro, chose him as its bearer. His selection was controversial. but it reflected the deeper truth of his character, his ability to rise above fear and mistrust. Unlike other lanterns, Simon carried a sidearm early in his career, a symbol that even he questioned whether the ring alone could protect him. Over time, however, he discovered abilities that set him apart. His emerald sight gave him glimpses into possible futures, allowing him to prepare for threats before they struck, while his rare healing power marked him as both protector and restorer, a figure of defiance and hope. Grounded by his devotion to his sister Sira and nephew Farid, Simon's heroism was always rooted in family and survival. His unlikely partnership with Jessica Cruz would transform that private resilience into a shared mission, proving that even the most fractured beginnings can grow into something greater. Jessica Cruz. Jessica Cruz, From Trauma to Triumph, begins with one of the most harrowing origins of any lantern. Her first appearance in Justice League Volume 2, Number 31 in August 2014, created by Jeff Johns and Ethan Van Sciver. Years earlier, Jessica survived a hunting trip where her friends were murdered, leaving her with paralyzing agoraphobia. Withdrawn and fearful, she seemed an unlikely candidate for power until her vulnerability attracted something darker. The Ring of Volthoom, a malevolent artifact from Earth-3, forced itself onto her and turned her into its unwilling host. Under its control, she became Power Ring, compelled to carry out acts of destruction against her will. This period tested her ability to endure fear on a level no external enemy ever could. By resisting Volthoom's influence and refusing to be defined by it, Jessica revealed an inner strength that could no longer be ignored. Her redemption arrived during the Darkseid War, when she sacrificed herself to stop the Black Racer. That act of selflessness led to her acceptance by a true Green Lantern ring, formally making her the Corps' first female human inductee. Her construct style favors shields and barriers, emphasizing protection over aggression. Later, after an encounter with Grail, she briefly demonstrated Omega Beams, an ability normally tied to Darkseid, cementing her as a formidable and unusual lantern. Jessica Cruz stands as proof that resilience can transform deep trauma into enduring strength. From fear-born power to genuine heroism, her story highlights the personal cost behind the Corps' legacy. Jade. Jade, the Starheart legacy meets the Corps, introduces a lantern whose very existence blends two traditions. Her first appearance was in All-Star Squadron number 25 in September 1983. Jennifer Lynn Hayden, better known as Jade, is the daughter of Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern, and the villain Thorn. This lineage connected her directly to the Golden Age, but her powers came not from the Corps nor a power battery, but from the Starheart, a mystical force of green energy that predates the Guardians by millennia. Unlike lanterns who require a ring and central battery, Jade was born infused with emerald energy itself. She could create constructs much like her father, but her power was self-renewing, making her a living embodiment of the Starheart rather than a member bound by Corps code. As a founding member of Infinity Inc., she carried forward the legacy of Golden Age heroes and proved that magic-born willpower could stand alongside modern super teams. Her ties to the Corps became tangible during her relationship with Kyle Rayner. After she briefly lost her innate powers, Kyle gave her a spare core ring, allowing her to wield both traditions at once. Later, her sacrifice in the Rann-Thanagar War and her resurrection in Blackest Night reinforced her importance to the mythos, showing that even death could not sever her connection to the Emerald Light. Jade's dual legacy as both heir of the Starheart and temporary Corps member made her a bridge between magic and willpower. Alan Scott. Alan Scott, the Golden Age pioneer who started it all, first appeared in All-American Comics number 16 in July 1940, created by Martin Nodal and Bill Finger. Long before the Guardians of Oa or the formal Lantern Corps existed, his story began with a railway disaster where a mystical green flame, later revealed as the Starheart, saved his life. By its guidance, he forged both a ring and a lantern from that fragment, becoming the very first human known to wield emerald power. Alan's abilities did not come from science or the Corps' technology, but from magic. The Starheart's influence allowed him to form constructs and channel vast emerald energy. But unlike Corps lanterns who once struggled with a weakness to yellow, Alan's power failed against wood or cellulose. This strange limitation reflected his difference. His ring was never bound to Oa or recharged by their batteries, making his path unique among Earth's heroes. He went on to co-found the Justice Society of America, proving that will and leadership could shape teams of heroes before the Silver Age even began. To avoid confusing his mystical branch of the legacy with the Corps, DC eventually placed him and his peers on Earth-2 in the multiverse, distinguishing his Starheart lineage from Oa's science-based lanterns. Alan Scott set the precedent that human willpower could channel the green flame in any form. Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner, the abrasive lantern who rewrote the rules, took the Corps in a direction no one expected. His first appearance was in Green Lantern number 59 in March 1968, created by John Broome and Gil Kane. From his very origin, Guy was marked as the runner-up, The ring that chose Hal Jordan passed over him simply because Hal was closer to Abinsur's crash site. Being second choice fueled his competitive streak and set the tone for his career, a lifelong drive to prove he was more than anyone's backup. Guy's style was brash and confrontational. He often defied orders, clashed with teammates, and seemed to thrive on conflict. His flaws were captured in a single panel from Justice League number 5, when Batman knocked him out with one punch, an image that defined him for years. Yet that arrogance was matched by extraordinary resilience and a determination that kept him standing long after others faltered. Over time, his arc became even more unpredictable. He wielded not only the Green Ring, but also a Red Lantern ring fueled by rage, briefly bore the Sinestro Corps' Yellow Ring, and even tapped into Star Sapphire energy. His capacity to channel multiple emotions made him an outlier among human lanterns. His constructs mirrored his personality, massive, blunt, and unrefined, prioritizing impact over artistry. Despite his abrasiveness, Guy proved to be a capable trainer and even a leader within the Corps, showing that strength can take many forms. From his volatile defiance came a reminder that sometimes the universe needs its protectors chosen for unlikely reasons. Rayner. Kyle Rayner, from Everyman to Cosmic Architect, marked a turning point in Green Lantern history. His first appearance was in Green Lantern Volume 3, number 48, in January 1994, created by Ron Mars and Darryl Banks. In the aftermath of Emerald Twilight, after Hal Jordan's fall and the near destruction of the Corps, Ganthet, the last surviving Guardian, handed the final working ring to Kyle, an ordinary freelance graphic artist he encountered by chance. With no training, no Corps, and no guidance, Kyle suddenly found himself the universe's only Green Lantern. His background as an artist shaped every construct he created. Unlike Hal's straightforward designs or John Stewart's militarized precision, Kyle's imagination produced intricate machines, lifelike creatures, and sculptures that looked alive. His creations showed that willpower expressed through artistry could push the ring beyond rigid combat into something more dynamic and inventive. Over time, Kyle became the torchbearer, rebuilding the Green Lantern legacy when no one else could. His story reached peaks unmatched by any other human lantern. He became Ion, embodied the living force of willpower, later mastered all 7 colors of the emotional spectrum, and eventually rose to the role of White Lantern. Along the way, his relationship with Jade symbolized a bridge between the Starheart's mystical roots and the Corps' modern revival. Kyle Rayner proved that creativity combined with responsibility could restore an entire order.
John Stewart.
John Stewart first appeared in Green Lantern Volume 2, number 87 in December 1971, created by Dennis O'Neil and Neil Adams. His debut was a milestone in DC Comics history, marking one of the first African-American superheroes in the publisher's lineup. Trained as both a Marine and an architect, Stewart carried into the Corps a unique combination of discipline, strategy, and design sense that set him apart from every Lantern before him. His dual background defined his approach to the ring. The tactical mindset of a Marine demanded quick decision-making and mission focus, while the discipline of an architect required precision, structure, and forethought. As a result, his constructs were famously described as meticulously crafted and never hollow. Every barrier, weapon, or machine he created was designed to actually function, grounded in the principles of sound engineering. One of his most ambitious feats, attempting to reconstruct an entire destroyed planet with his ring, reflected his conviction that Green Lanterns should not only fight, but also rebuild. His emphasis on restoration and durability gave his power a creative dimension rarely seen among the Corps. Stewart's cultural impact only grew through animation. Voiced by Phil LaMarr in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, he became the definitive Green Lantern for an entire generation, embodying calm leadership and quiet strength. Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan, the archetype who defined what it means to be a Green Lantern, came from humble beginnings shaped by chance. His first appearance was in Showcase number 22 in October 1959, created by John Broome and Gil Kane. A fearless test pilot known for pushing limits, Hal received Abinsur's ring only because he was physically closer to the crash site than Guy Gardner. That twist of fate made him not only the Corps' most visible human member, but also the standard by which all others would be measured. Hal's mentality as a test pilot defined him. He thrived on risk, disregarded rules when they slowed him down, and pushed his willpower to extremes. This mindset made him an ideal choice for the ring, yet it also brought constant friction with the Guardians. His willpower was so formidable he could override the ring's safety programming and even form constructs of himself, showcasing a level of control few could match. The dual edge of his character erupted during Emerald Twilight in 1994. After Mongol destroyed Coast City, Hal tried to resurrect it with his ring, an act forbidden by Corps law. Reeling with grief, he turned against the Guardians, killed many Lanterns, destroyed the Guardians themselves, and drained the central battery to become Parallax. A decade later, Green Lantern Rebirth reframed his fall by revealing Parallax as a cosmic fear entity that had possessed him, separating Jordan's legacy from simple corruption. Hal's arc, including his time as the Spectre and eventual redemption, confirmed him as the Corps' archetype, a figure who embodies both the promise and danger of willpower. His story shows how the Ring's choices can elevate, corrupt, and ultimately redeem, setting the stage for how its power continues to shape humanity in unexpected ways. So who's your favorite Green Lantern? And were there any you think should have made it on our list? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe for more Explainerverse videos just like this one.